worry, I just made it, but then it's funny that now it was. Yeah, please guys, at the beginning, if by any chance you start the class a little bit late or we started with a hurry and we don't record, if you help and remind would be perfect. But it's still good, Mr. Rahim. They said that if you stop any problem, even late, it's better than not doing it at all. So no problem. Let's come back. What I was trying to say is, yes, at the end of the day, self-regulation is all about private and individual personal approach, while regulation comes from society, comes from regulators, and so on. So critics argue that incentives for self-regulations are insufficiently compelling and true deterrence will not be achieved. Some critics, they said, sometimes self-regulation is not really motivating or it's not really stimulated by any incentives, because you see, one of the incentives that you may have is just the feeling that you may have after basically having something right. Just simply like that. For example, I just told you, you don't pass the traffic light even during midnight because you believe this is wrong, okay? And there is some satisfaction after that. There is nobody over there to give you a prize, or there is no police who's going to monitor you and in the future send you a prize or something. It's all about you and how you feel about that, okay? Some people, they say that feeling is not really compelling. It's not really strong to make any difference. But again, this is another opinion, okay? Privacy, okay? What is privacy? The concept of privacy has both ethical and legal aspects, okay? There is legal confusion regarding privacy. You see, first of all, you see, recently there was a case that there was a contractor or outsourcer employee that was working with CIA, actually and he was called whistleblower by WikiLeaks founder because he started he actually came from US to Hong Kong and said there are lots of information, and he tried to reveal some information that the CIA was trying to do, all as different reactions to what happened in September 11, 2001, and they've been doing this since George W. Bush, and then even by Obama coming to the picture, still it was going on. At the beginning, Obama was one of the critics about this, but then later on, his maybe approach was a little bit changed. But at the end of the day, this is an issue. You see, he's been doing this, and he was going from this country to another country. Whether he was a whistleblower or he was a trader, that is an issue. Okay, so different people have different opinions. As you know, Hong Kong didn't return him back to US, and he could fly to Russia, and still the case is going on. Americans that they are definitely seeing things from American point of view. They may not see him as a whistleblower. They may see him as somebody who is actually betraying his own country. But maybe other countries in the world, they are like, as I told you, the founder of the basically WikiLeaks consider him as a hero. So that is an issue. We are not really commenting whether this is right or wrong. This is not our job here. What I'm trying to say is whether privacy of each individual that you're living in the United States or even anywhere else in the world is important or not, or a country or government can simply listen to them or not, is an issue. Okay, so that's why this guy, but he's like, whether he has like just absolute private personal motivation behind that, or there was other superpowers behind what he's done, this is again another issue that can be investigated, or we cannot simply say now. But at the end of the day, what happened is his issue was like, why a government has to listen to different people all around the world, whatever they're saying, whatever they're doing over the social networks, over the internet, over the mail, talking to their parents, over the phone, and all those things. And whether it's right or wrong, okay? This is the whole issue. So that's why you see privacy all the time is one of those sizzling topics that we can talk about that again and again and again. Yes, he requested asylum in Russia. He was supposed to go to Ecuador or from there to Cuba, but maybe he's trying to get the same thing from Russia, as he knows the rivalry still is going on after Cold War. between Russia and the United States, specifically after having Vladimir Putin there as the president. Mr. Samir is saying that it's pray time. Guys, we can finalize this page and then everybody can go. Just simply, there's a legal confusion regarding the privacy and no specific privacy provision within the United States Constitution. So in constitutions of the United States, there is no rules or specific term about Constitution. Privacy has been addressed in the common law of the course. As you know, we have the common law, which is the one of the basic law that in US they are referring to. Within society, privacy interests compete with consent for safety, economic, and need for association with others. So all of these issues related to privacy can be interesting and controversial, and whether you have the approach, the right approach about that will be the question that you can have from different governments. So by finishing this, I think I can give you 10 minutes for prayer. See you all after the prayer. Yes. Thank you so much. Please go for prayer, 10 minutes, and after the prayer, I will see you all. Very fast, let's go to the next one. Everybody's back? We had a little bit more than 10 minutes. Okay. Privacy within digital context. Okay. We were discussing about different pitfalls that we may have when it comes to internet or anything like that, specifically in this one, in the last, this one is specifically how different basically possible pitfalls they may have happen and so on. Here, later on, in this specific basically web page and a slide, we are going to discuss more about different type of code of ethics and so on. For example, AMA code of ethics for marketing on internet is this: information collected from customer should be confidential and used only for express purposes. You see, AMA is a famous company that when they are working online, they're trying to have this. This is like how they're trying to convince their customers, okay, that basically the information that you're going to give it to us will sell. Facebook has the same thing as well. If you look at the Facebook history, they had lots of problems all around the during their existence, and they were all because basically there are different issues about Mark Zuckerberg, how he's been dealing with different issues. There were times that Facebook was questioned by people that whether the information that people are putting there as for subscription and so on is going to be used by other party. So far, two times Mark Zuckerberg, as the founder of Facebook, actually apologized to people because in different period of time, Facebook actually had abused the information by giving them to advertising and marketing companies. Okay, online advertising firms such as DoubleClick have traditionally recorded user click streams to form user profile for marketing purposes as well. So you see, this is again another way that another company tries to give this assurance to companies that to people that there is nothing wrong and you can trust us and so on. Controversy arose in 2000 when DoubleClick acquires consumer names, addresses, and buying histories and planned to combine the offline data with click-stream data. Like they tried to use this information and get advantages of that, and it was a controversial thing. Some people were questioning that. They said that this information was supposed to just be for subscription or sign up for the website while the company is doing so. So you see, all the time these issues are going to be there. Data can be obtained through cookies. You see, there are cookies. There is kind of actually viruses that some hackers they use. For example, if you go to certain website, they tend to have that cookies on your basically. I'm not going to be very detailed in terms of explanation. This is an IT-oriented or software engineering-oriented issue. But cookies is one of the ways that different websites can obtain more information from you as an individual simply by having that cookie installed when you go and visit the website. Cookies are packets of data that are created and stored on user's hard drive in response to instructions received from a web page. As you can see, if you go to certain website, okay, you may get that. Sometimes this website, for example, one of the most top-up cookies is related to pornography website that they create this, and then later on they can again still have the access to the user whenever he or she is using coming online, and then they can simply again access that. Cookies allows marketers to pinpoint an individual's online behavior by simply seeing what are the websites that they usually going through and how many different things, basically how many different, if they have any purchase over the internet, what is the frequency, all the information that can be important. Okay. Let's talk about the privacy debate. You see, definitely privacy is still one of the most common issues in the world. Supporters of systems such as DoubleClick argue that users wish to receive the benefit of targeted advertisers if the information is going to be used, while other critics point out that most users do not understand how computers process data. So why we really, so they tend to give the information easily, give up the information while it can be used in a wrong manner. Preliminary terms of federal FTC, which is Federal basically Trade Commission agreement, include an issue here that you can see basically obligation to provide notice of data collection and ban on combining existing data with personal information unless opt-in permission is obtained. If you go to a certain website like Facebook nowadays specifically, and they want to do anything, they want to run anything on your basically Facebook page and so on, they have to ask you. You have to authorize them. Sometimes users, they don't really pay attention to the questions and they just proceed or say just click on next, 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 and they end up being in a problem that maybe they didn't want. Maybe all of their friend list can be contacted through Facebook by a certain third party. But they have to ask. The question has to be there. Okay, that is what the basic rule has to be there. FTC is asking all of these companies to have such a basic regulations and legislation to make sure no customer's right is going to be neglected. The FTC and privacy norms. The FTC has identified the following norms for the ethical use of consumer information: notice, consent, access, security, enforcement. Okay, so these are the basic main information, basically norms about ethical use of consumer information. So the notice, consent, you have to have proper notice, you have to have the consent of the customer to use that. The access has to be through the right channel. Security has to be done. Like if you're using the information, you have to make sure this information is not going to be abused by other parties. And enforcement of any legislation, regulation, as I told you, Federal Trade Commission, Mr. W. Okay, FTC is which is in the United States since 1914 or 15 something. It's been there, and then it's in all the time basically monitoring the whole trade and so on in the United States of America. Protection of digital property. Let's talk about intellectual property or anything online, which is basically digital. For example, a publication, a paper, a weblog, a website, or any information that you make it available for everybody to get. Yes, exactly. So the law protects intangible or intellectual property through three basic mechanisms: copyright, patent law, and trademark. With these three, you can make sure that your intangible or intellectual property is going to be perfectly taken care of. Okay. So for example, if you've done your thesis and your thesis is going to be online by your university, you usually have to sign a copyright form and make sure with the university and making sure this is your property, so nobody can use it. except having your proper citation. Patent law is another way of making sure your innovation or your idea or your invention is going to be all based on your name. And trademark is usually the protection that you get for your brand. In US or even the rest of the world, they have the same thing nowadays as well. And that keeps your brand not being protected from other competitors, and they cannot use it or abuse it or even use similar things like that. A very simple thing, a long time around maybe 10 years ago, Sony attempted to have something like Windows, but because it was done by Sony, they call it Windows. Microsoft immediately basically sued them and said that this name is, by the way that it starts with S, still highly bringing the image of Windows to the customer's mind. So, and then Sony was kind of lost the whole case, and the whole program was terminated, by the way that there was a huge capital behind that. Let's talk about copyright by itself in detail. Copyright is the primary means of protecting most expression on the internet. Doctrine of fair use, okay, is the ability to copy protected materials for education and news reporting. Doctrine of first sale limit the ability of copyright holder to obtain profit after the initial time at which the material is sold. And other copyright protection under Number Electronic Theft Act and Digital Millennium. Copyright. There are different type of approaches toward copyright. Basically, two basic doctrines we have for that. Doctrine we have, one is fair use, the other one is first use. Fair use is about, as I told you, ability to copy protected material for education and news reporting. This is fair use, so still is alright. But doctrine of first use limit the ability of copyright holder to obtain profit after initial time at which the material is sold. So this is about copyright. Now we are just explaining different things in detail and nothing special. Trademark. What is trademark or trademarks? Trademark law concerns the ownership of intellectual property that identify goods or services, or show the basically intellectual property of a brand by a company and so on. Trademark law has been basically has been applied to that apparently was missing, has been applied to internet naming system of domain names. For example, Google can just use the name Google and that's it. So this trademark is for you, Google, so nobody else in the world can use Google. Okay, as simple as that. Similarities in names may result in trademark infringement claims as well if you create a name that is more or less the same. Sometimes you just imagine you want to put Google, mistaken you instead of one O, you may put 3 O. You may go to another website. Sometimes big companies like Google, they usually try to even take care of the trademark of even similar name, even by 1 or 2 different letters, just for making sure they are exactly, yes, protected. Exactly, Mr. Stanley John. Copyright symbol usually is C. It's when you get you see, the whole thing was initiated in the United States of America. C is when you have the trademark in your own state, okay? But if you get the federal trademark, and which is more general and comprehensive, it will be R. So it will be a circle and R inside. Okay? So this C. So the rest of the world started following the United States of America. So most of the rules and regulation of the rest of the world is exactly the same thing as well. But initially it was done in US. C in circle means copyright in a state, and R means different in the whole federal approach. You have that security for your thing. And cyber squatting involves the registration of domains that resemble or duplicate existing ones. There are lots of domains that they are very, very valuable domains because it's been used by this gigantic, for example, website, and sometimes you may have some similarities that resembling the same thing or duplicating the same one, and we call this cyber squatting. Definitely, this is an issue against trademark, and it will be treated if the company issue a file, okay, sue the, for example, offenses. Patent is another way that you can take care of your intellectual property. Applying patent laws, computing is an uncertain but developing field. Still, there are issues over internet how you can create patent for digital properties, but it is developing properly, and it's going to be even much more mature in very near future. Creators of softwares are attempting to make use of patent law protection, okay, because they believe if they don't have that, software can be simply downloaded or used by or cracked or hacked by other parties and then abused. So this is really important to create that patent. For example, all of these Microsoft Office that you use every single day for typing anything or calculating anything through Excel or creating tables and so on, they're all patented by Microsoft. That's why at the beginning you will see the logo of Microsoft, you see that it's protected. They will explain about the copyright as well as patent and so on. Make sure this is not going to be abused. And if you abuse that, you know that you're doing something against law, so you can be punished. Okay? Advocates argue that granting of patent for software will encourage innovation, because if you make sure that all of those software creators are safe, definitely there are more people into creating more things, and then because the profitability is hugely high. But if you cannot do that, then those that they are even involved, they won't be really encouraged to do so and continue doing that. Critics argue that patent will have a stifling, basically, or stifling and monopolistic effects. This is another thing. When you really make the patent, like what is really happening to Microsoft? Microsoft is a gigantic mega company that has been dominating this software industry for a long time, and because they are really huge and strong, other competitors cannot simply basically compete. When they have all of these patents going on and so on, it's going to be even make it more difficult for competitors to survive. That's why the monopolistic approach will come. So you see 80% of the whole, 80 and above percent of the whole software industry is dominated by Microsoft. Let's talk about licenses. They will punish the people, like I can see here, Mr. Obeidullah Faisal say, they will punish the people according to their country law or any international law or company located country. Usually, there are some international law against anything like that, or your country should be part of that. Like, for example, if you're part of WTO, WTO by itself is imposing lots of rules and regulations. So you have to take care of things like piracy of CDs and different things. But if your country for any reason is not part of WTO, you see there are around 150, 60 countries in the world that they are part of WTO, and still around 40, 50 they are not. So in 40, 50 countries, you cannot really apply these rules and regulations. And even in other countries, implementation of rules is another, no, WTO, which is World Trade Organization. Okay, so usually there are some other international laws and regulation as well. But if there is a country which is under the sanction, for example, you really cannot apply those things there, because that country is kind of isolated. See, there is no way to apply these things on a country like North Korea. That's why North Korea has been, for example, isolated for a long period of time. Or other countries that more or less, they were on Libya a long time ago when Gaddafi was in charge, had the same thing. Kind of, they have like this more or less basically sanctions and so on. It was a little bit lifted from them and again come back. Other countries as well, whichever that they have this, it will be difficult to have that. Let's talk about licenses. Licenses are increasingly popular method of intellectual property protection. Allows the buyer to use the product while restrict application and distribution. One of the very near concept near to this is cloud computing. Have you heard about cloud computing? Is there anybody here who knows what is cloud computing? You can raise your hand. I can give you a chance to talk. Cloud computing. So if I said no, okay, cloud computing is a new concept that what happened, it's a very, very new concept, and it's about like these gigantic companies that they develop, for example, different softwares like Microsoft, Cisco, and all of those, okay? And then and you know, as a user, sometimes it's really expensive for you to access all of those things. If you want to buy the whole license and apply it to your basically maybe laptop for a long time and then pay for the whole thing and so on. So they provide services like limited access to this thing for a period of time. As far as you're paying, the payment can be based on duration, it can be based on the number of inquiries and so on. At the end of the day, there can be other third parties that actually bring all of different softwares and so on from different companies, and they try to retail them online, which is an online retailing, to different users in the world that they are interested to use. For example, you want to use FMS, which is a financial management system software, okay? This is an expensive thing. If you want to buy it all by yourself and pay for the license, it may cost you a lot. But you may log on to these websites that they provide such a services. You can have limited access in terms of duration for the number of times that you can use, and still you get to use it in the right time and so on, and then by just paying monthly based something, maybe based on inquiries and so on. So the customer is happy, the company is also happy, because they definitely will have more customers that they're going to come and use their services. This is cloud computing. So nowadays it's very, very common. So licensing is actually the reason why cloud computing can happen, simply because these gigantic companies give these chances to users to use it for a short period of time, or having the license of using the product for a short period of time. Okay, there are different basic types of licenses. They have shrink wrap or break the seal license, that you buy the basically CD and so on. You have to open it. You can apply it. Most of the original, for example, antiviruses is like this. Okay, and you have creep wrap licenses where the user is required to click the button to accept the terms. When you do online things, for example, you buy anything online, or you have we have sometimes even the free version that you accept certain terms, and then this is the one that usually you don't read, okay, when you want to use the product. And these two type of licenses are the common license over the internet. Legal trend favors enforcement of software licenses also are important. So you see, we almost talk about the different approaches. Let me see what is as far as we almost are at the end of the class. Let's go and talk about emerging issues and so on, and then the final one will be FBI online website that I'm going to talk. Emerging issues nowadays is online governance and jurisdiction of different, like in different societies. For example, the United States jurisdiction means the countries that the United States have basically ability to control and is under their jurisdiction. So whether you can do it. What happened in like this recent case that whistleblower came to Hong Kong, the Hong Kong had that agreement with the United States, so they could return it back, but still because Hong Kong joined China, was highly influenced by Chinese government or China government, and they ended up not doing so and sent him to Russia. It is all about how jurisdiction of the United States is going to work in Hong Kong and so on. Online governance is also the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. Was formed in 1998 first time, and then you have the whole this database of people and information about them and using them for different matters. The ability of a court or other authority to gain control over a party would be jurisdiction, traditionally based on physical presence. Used to be, for example, if you were in that country, you are under the jurisdiction of, like for example, they can be criminal who has done something in Afghanistan against the law under jurisdiction of Afghanistan, which is in Afghanistan, that guy can be punished. But if the guy, for example, flee to Pakistan, you may not have that jurisdiction. So you may not have that ability to be able to punish. Sometimes countries try to sign agreements to be able to basically return some of their, for example, fugitives and criminals as they are escaping from each other's border, just for making sure that nobody is abusing this. Treaties may provide for international resolution and enforcement. These are different issues related to the whole thing. You said, Mr. Rahim Zormati to everyone said there is UN Agency for Trade, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Definitely, there are different agencies that they are involved in all of these issues that you just said. Thank you for bringing that one up. There is another thing, Mr. Muhammad Rasif saying that we have many warlords in Afghanistan. Okay. Okay, can you explain a little bit more, Mr. Rasif, what do you mean by that? Okay, as when Mr. Rasif is going to write that, I can finalize these emerging issues. We have fraud, that the use of deception and false claims to obtain profit. This is one of the most common things over the internet and expression of internet or online things. The internet provides opportunity for novel deceptions. There are lots of new ways that people can be cheated and fraud can happen simply because internet provides such a platform. Simply, one of the basic things, there are lots of criminals that they abuse. They create, for example, fake websites, and they try to obtain people's account number or credit card number or basic information and use that. So you definitely have this in your mail, that you receive an email from somebody saying that you want to share a wealth with you and he just found you, or another congratulation letter from a company saying that you want something and they're interested to share it with you, or anything like that. And all of these things are different type of fraud or chances of fraud that can happen over the internet. So that's why things like internet banking, they have to be very, very basically highly secured, because there are high chances of abusement of the, for example, different accounts. For example, there was a recent case in Singapore that there was a guy who was just taking just 1 cent, Singaporean cent, from each account holder from a certain bank. And you see, 1 cent is nothing, but he was doing this almost every day from thousands of accounts. So basically, you don't really see that. So you see, even if an account holder, you don't really see 1 cent in your account. Even if it's changed, you don't really notice that. But when you have this 1 cent every single day being deducted from your account, and besides that, there are thousands of accounts like that, that guy could get a huge amount of money per day. And he was basically found and then punished by police. But it can be one of the reasons. You can simply see in normal traditional way you may not have this chance, but in online situation that is perfectly possible. Okay. Spoofing is the use of email or website to impersonate individual or corporation. You see, this is what it's happening in most of your email. Definitely, you have received an email saying that there is an individual. This is sometimes even you can see some amazing ones. Like you receive an email in Yahoo saying that Yahoo is asking you to click on certain link because they believe that your, for example, account was abused. You have to be really, really careful, because usually this information comes from third parties that they're trying to get information from you and access your fundamental and important information. So you have to be really, really careful. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, as well as FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the state agencies have increased their efforts to track and prosecute any fraudulent conduct that is happening in the United States, and the rest of the world is doing the same thing. This is what FBI does. This is FBI attempt to investigate online fraud. You see, you can go report your different sectors and so on, simply because they know how important it is and so on. So by finishing this, our slides are going to be finished. If there is any question, please ask me now. Okay, thank you, Mr. Asid. Other students, if you have any question, please ask. As far as today, we explained the first slide very much in detail, and we had everybody involved. I really appreciate it, and I like that type of discussion. So we had less participation on the left, but then still, I think I found the class very productive today. Very nice discussion among the students, and very good example. I tried to bring you different examples from all around the world to explain different ethical and legal issues around the internet marketing, electronic marketing. I hope that you enjoyed it. Okay, thank you so much to you all. Have a great night, and see you next week. Thank you so much.